Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with your Sensei Al Bob, your griot here to tell you a story. So this morning, I had a quickie, about 10 minutes, and I think that may be my new protocol of doing a quickie, setting out a few parameters of things to think about and talk about, and then have the chat, the cadre, come on and have a real conversation. Here it is, May 8th, which was just 3 days ago, or 2 days ago. I get today's 10th. Was my 5th anniversary. 5 years on YouTube with Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. And I have over 2,000 shows, no matter what YouTube says. And there are a lot of shows up there, even whatever YouTube says. I mean, I kind of went through it the other day. I didn't count it one for one, but from the last to the first day, we're still, that first one where I come out of the phone store and say, wow, the guy just set up my YouTube. It's my first YouTube. What do I do? And to the last one, this one here, it's probably about 2,500, no matter what YouTube says. It's 1,500, well, that's what YouTube says. It's just like I met 6 people today and I watched them subscribe, right? And if I go and look at it, and it still says 499 subscribers. So come on, let's see some thumbs up and, some comments and etc. So I'm going to peruse the YouTube. Back in 92, a friend of mine in Asheville, he was a IT guy for a hospital, and he had his own servers. And we used to go get rearranged in his basement of his shop and go online till late at night. And we would invent and figure out URL addresses. So we had like Coca-Cola, .com, NewYorkTimes.com, NewYorkState.com. We just kept making them up. And I said, this is going to be worth something someday. And then around 94 or 5, people say, hey, well, what's the cost to get that address? And so he started selling them for like a couple hundred. And I said, what are you nuts? Thousands, like Coca-Cola. Come on, don't sell that to them for a couple of $100. Anyway, so he started selling it for a couple thousand. Then his wife got cancer and he needed $100,000. So he kind of sold everything to, I think, whatever came GoDaddy, right? So anyway, or whatever started out before it became GoDaddy. And that's kind of how it all goes. And so, I got, at the point where his wife didn't get really sick and he was charging $100,000 a pop or $50,000 a pop, he did give me a taste of that, which was nice because all I was doing was getting obliterated on his hospitality in his basement and joking and laughing. And then we started our your TV, right? And we had that, and we used to do shows, and we had people, to come on and chat, and it was like regional or your neighborhood cable TV public access, but it wasn't. It was his server, right? He had a couple servers. Anyway.
Recently, do you think that has exposed perhaps the vulnerability of the Kremlin's defenses?
I don't think so. To begin with, I don't think there was any sort of an offense on the Kremlin, no attack on the Kremlin. Most probably that was organized by the Kremlin itself to show the Russian people that they are in danger and they should be united around the current government and, of course, the national leader, who is Mr. Putin, and nothing. There was definitely. It looks like a fake attack, and there were cameras installed, and somebody was filming all that. There were people on the roof of the Kremlin Palace before any fire appeared, and all that. It doesn't look realistic to me at all.
So you think that it really ruined everything?
Unfortunately, basement water, it always gets worse. We got this.
It always gets.
I think he's preparing them for a potential of more mobilization, of a long war in Ukraine, if not intensive in one sense, but being prepared, saying to people, be prepared, this could be a long war. Survival is at stake. Talking about the Donbass, in a way, I was surprised he didn't mention Crimea, actually, but he did mention defending Donbass, and preparing them for casualties if the Ukrainians conduct a strong and maybe successful counteroffensive. I think the first thing to say is to stress how important this parade is within Russia and the message that it sends out on a continuous basis, really. Although it's 70 years ago plus for the World War II, the Russians, of course, suffered enormous casualties, and they look back on that period with huge pride, but also a huge conviction that they will never have to go through that again. And we can easily overlook that, from a Western perspective. So that victory parade is very important psychologically. It wasn't surprising that it was downgraded a bit because they are obviously concerned about security threat and so forth, and they've got a lot of people deployed down in the Ukraine. So, in that sense, I wasn't surprised. But actually, the parade is normally led by a T-34, actually, one of the major World War II tanks. So, in one sense, that wasn't surprising to see that on parade. But there were much reduced numbers of other vehicles. I think there were about 50-odd vehicles on parade compared to well over 130 last year and nearly 200 the year before that. And only around 8,000 soldiers on parade, soldiers, sailors and airmen. But again, there have been 20, I think probably 11, certainly well over 11,000 last year. So it was much reduced, but nonetheless, I was impressed in one sense that they were prepared to go ahead with it and to put that number of people out there.
That's really interesting context, Tim. And the speech from Vladimir Putin was in many ways just familiar fare, wasn't it? Railing about the West, the woke West, waging real war against Russia. I mean, we can only speculate on whether that shtick is wearing thin with a lot of Russians.
I don't think it's wearing thin with the Russians. I think it's, and your point is, the major point you just made actually is that the audience for this. I think it's wearing thin with the Russians. I think it's, and your is the major point you just made actually is that the audience for this is an internal audience. I mean, clearly there's a message to the West as well, which we listen to and will interpret. But my sense is that this is a message internally to the Russian people to say that Russia is under threat, and he's emphasizing that, and obviously from our perspective overplaying it and actually in some respect completely lying. But I think he's preparing them for a potential of more mobilization, of a long war in Ukraine, if not intensive in one sense, but being prepared, saying to people, be prepared, this could be a long war. Survival is at stake. Talking about the Donbass, in a way, I was surprised he didn't mention Crimea, actually, but he did mention defending Donbass and preparing them for casualties if the Ukrainians conduct a strong and maybe successful counteroffensive. And if that counteroffensive goes well, preparing them for what he might.
There's an African proverb that goes something like this: a mother is like a kernel crushed. We're reaching a moment where these elites may splinter. So the security elite, the military, which can see exactly what's happening in the war, and the economic, the oligarchs who are suffering from, they're getting by, but the economy is suffering. And so these groups of people are unhappy with the course of the war, and they're unhappy with the idea of a forever war. Prigozhin is his.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you you for joining me on another of my interviews. Now, you may remember a few weeks ago, I had a very lovely and feisty lady called Kimberly from the Public Child Protection in Wales. They were fighting for their children's rights not to be overly sexualized in school. As you may know, the curriculum now is somewhat warped, I think is a good way of saying, in which they are sexualizing our children. And if you don't know that, then maybe
Okay, so you got a kind of taste of like blah 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 blah, right? But no one talks about what's really why are we here on this planet? What's going on? Why do we continue doing the same thing over and over? Look at your lives individually. You do the same thing. You overeat. You don't eat. You purge. You know, do a lot of drugs, you do a lot of alcohol, or you don't, or you are totally siloed in some belief structure, or you aren't there connected to life. This is life. This is life. It's alive. It's there. What more do you want than something that beautiful? Why do you have to run around and do all kinds of stuff that you don't have to do? Someone said, well, I just have to, you've got yours, I got to get mine. Basically I serve God, right? That's my job, right? And today I spoke to 5 different people, right? The kids who came off the AT, and it was a miracle in that they were on the AT there at this place that I know that's very beautiful. It's a waterfall and it's a great campsite. There's a fire pit there that's been there for centuries. It's got the taste of the Cherokee. It's just, and they kind of stumbled on it. It's not like right on the AT, it's kind of off it. And they were there and they kind of said, they had a little tea, they got out their tea and crumpets and they heated up some water and they and they said it was about 3 o'clock and it was nice and they have a hammock. And I said, oh yeah, I'm a hammock guy too. And so they could have easily set up camp and been great for that night. They didn't because they were looking on their app and it said from that point on it was going to be like this. Well, this is the Appalachian. This is the Appalachian is here. The Smokies are here, and in between is the Sawtooth Mountain accordion. And so the AT goes right from here, over this and through this, and then over that. And that is a good 200 miles. They came up from Georgia, so they are just at the point where it starts to get up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. And from Georgia to here, which is Tennessee, is maybe, I don't know, 200 miles, maybe, let's say 300, right? And they started out early March, March, April, here it is May. So, 2.5 months, and they've gotten 1/6 of the way, right? Which is fine. I'm going up and down the AT a zillion times, but not all in one shot. And I went all in one shot twice, right? First coming from Moosilauke all the way down to Georgia, right? And I did that in 2.5 months because I had a crew that was like driven, right? So we did that because we were the scouts and we scouted what we thought was the best site for the Rainbow Gathering, and allegedly the Rainbow Gathering this year is going to be in the Northeast, New England Rainbow Family. So we had one. I did a gathering in Ithaca that I was just like, here, you do it, and they all ran away, right? The usual suspects of the Rainbow Family high hippie holies, right? Oh, I'm scared to be, but I'll run the council. Once they're like the Supreme Court of the high hippie holies of this and that Shantasina brings them. And me, I was always just, on my strategy skills and organizing skills. I am a good scout and I'm a good seed count guy and I'm a good um, cleanup guy. And running, I don't run. I don't do it. Now, I am part of Shantasina, right? But I don't do the Gary Plunkett thing, the Plunkett thing. I don't do that. What I do is I walk through the camp. I find who is at most at stress, and I hang with them, and I work on them, energetically, and bring good food to them, clean water, and tell them stories. I do my griot thing, and I assist them to be their best, and that's what a real good Shantasina does, right? Not act like a policeman. Wait for the crisis to occur because, man, you can see we're crisis right now. So the crisis, right? So Ukraine is basically a soap opera, scripted show to distract, and we are taking apart Africa, and Sierra Leone and Darfur and all that section of Africa, where all the oil and gold and diamonds, and logistically that corner linchpin of transportation, and also waters, the headwaters of the Nile. That's why Ukraine is over here. Oh, look at this! Look at this! It's terrible. Oh my God! Yes, it is terrible, right? And it's going to go on for at least 5 years because if Russia could not kick, eat, destroy Ukraine in 1 year, they're not going to do it in 5. Now, in 3 years, there won't be much left of Ukraine, right? And probably close to 1 million Russian soldiers will be dead, and close to 10 million Ukrainians dead, right? And the guy we can thank for that is Stepford Biden and NATO and all the military-industrial complex, and also the banking cartels. And the bottom line is we are not having inflation. We're going to have deflation. I mean, oil is at $64 a barrel, right? And it's still $3 at the pump, right? No, at $64 a barrel, it should be like 240, right? Or 180. But what we're looking at is we're going to, and also the morons in Congress, are woefully, here it is the 10th. That means we have 20 days before the United States defaults, right? And when that happens, say goodbye, Gracie, because basically what it's going to do is force the dollar will not collapse, but will go dark, right? And it will be replaced by a thing called CDBC, Centralized Digital Banking Currency, right? And your face will be your credit card. It won't be credit. You will be given an allowance, right? You will not own a home. All property will no longer be held. And good old the guy who did Star Trek, Rod, whatever his name is, not Sterling, but whatever his name is, that guy. That's what the Federation was. No one owned anything. They all lived in a nice house, but it was an allotment. They all had clothes. They had transport. Everyone got on transports. No one owned a car. Did you see anybody in Star Trek that owned a car? No. Maybe somebody owned a car as an antique, a kind of, and they didn't own it. They had a license to have because it's nice to have those things around so the people, oh, look at that. Remember the good old days when but we had global. It's far better now, isn't it? Now that we use generic current from the ether. Oh, isn't that great that we invented it in 2040? No, Nikola Tesla invented it, in the 1880s, right? And before that, Ben Franklin knew about it, and so did a whole bunch of other French and English scientists, but they couldn't really speak about it. Otherwise, the FUCK would come after them, right? What is the FUCK? Fornication under church and king. Back when the Roman Empire, second, point two, crashed and burned. The First Reich was the first Roman Empire. Second Reich was the they tried to rebrand, just like they're trying to rebrand now. And then what they had to do was they had to, because they tried to rebrand, and before they could step up, it collapsed again. And so they were Constantine, the emperor of the time, said, okay, we're all going to be Christians, and it's all going to be centered here in the Vatican, and I'm going to be the first pope, right? And St. Augustine, who was his his religious dude, wrote all the scriptures, took all the scriptures and kind of put them into something that would work as a good business plan for this new, Reich. The First Reich was Roman Empire. Second Reich, Holy Roman Empire. Third Reich, Nazi Germany. All the same Reich. All being brought to you by the same, mystery schools, right? And those mystery schools were around way before Babylon, way before, things before Babylon. And then you can see that there were at least 6, if not 20 separate eons. Like human beings in this kind of mud puppet have been around for at least 6 million years, because we have been here on this planet, meaning the planet has been here for 6 billion with a B years. Not like and even the Bible, if you take the King James, and they're all the kings, and Methuselah lived 900 years. So there's about 1,000 kings before Methuselah that lived, 1,800 years, 22,000 years, go read Kings, right? And so if you line them all up, you're looking at a few million years, So whenever you see some interesting Christian whatever, I know what the Bible says and what it means. It means give me money, more money, more money, more money, and do what I say. Line up all those pretty girls and those other little children. Line them up. Okay, Father O'Reilly. I used to be on TV. And that's O'Reilly spelled with XXX or XXX or LY. So don't believe a word I say. It's all made up. It's fake news. Fake news. I love Donnie. Donnie Chump. What a chump that chump is. The only thing he had going for him was that he was a show host of a thing called The Apprentice, and he was the apprentice. He was apprenticing to be president. You're fired. That's all he did the whole time. He fired more people than any other president in known frigging history, right? And the other interesting thing, he passed less bills than any other president in history. The only thing he really, really got through is the $26 trillion tax break for Elon Musk and his buddies, right? Not for you. You did not get a tax break. Sorry. Right? The money that he got he then gave you as a thing during the pandemic bonus check, which kind of got everyone to not, have a revolution. Okay, I got my $1,200. I can go drink it, or I can put it in the bank, or I can buy a new car, or I can blah 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 blah. Okay, here we are, 34 minutes, and let's call a few people, see if anyone has any consciousness. Mhm. Oh, there he is. Hey.
Oh,
Yeah.
listen, I'm gonna have to call you back, brother. I don't like talking on the phone when I'm with a friend. Okay.
Okay.
But I'm gonna call you back a little later.
Okay. I may or may. I'm in a place that I have a bar, and I may or may not have it, but we'll get back together. Okay. He didn't want to talk. Let's try Mr. Magic. Hey, handsome. I'm on live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
So I had a little short show. I'm trying to change up my how I do my show. I did a little thing about 10 minutes in the morning saying, okay, guys, I'm going to come on in the afternoon and let's talk about something. Let's have a conversation. Let's, just not have me be stream of consciousness. Let's not just have you saying, oh, that's a pretty bow tie. Let's talk about stuff because there's stuff to talk about. So what do you think there is stuff to talk about? What stuff do you want to talk about?
Nothing. I would like to talk about. I found a very interesting book, and I will see if I can find it. I'm in a different office / office. Normally, but it's a very pleasant office as it is private. Not much activity.
Right.
And the person, I don't know how long ago this was inhabiting, ways back, the person who had occupied this office full time was a pretty interesting person and left a lot of cool books behind.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to reveal the topic of what I'm talking about. There's a book that she left behind. It's called Growing Sane: Psychological Disturbances Accompanying the Growth of Consciousness. Written by James Stallone, PhD. I don't know if he's related to Sylvester Stallone. And Cy Migdal, also PhD. I have not started this book, but I think it's a pretty cool thing.
So as
psychological disturbances accompanying the growth of consciousness.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing because what is a disturbance? That's the key question. What is the disturbance?
And who is disturbed?
Right. And what I
Is
mean,
is it the individual going through the changes, or is it perhaps the people he or she is outgrown
right.
that are disturbed,
Or,
and maybe possibly using psychology or mental health as a weapon against the person who is growing?
or even something a little more evolved than that. And the disturbance is more like an energetic rather than a
Sure.
personality.
Sure. And it could be a side effect or part of that process. Maybe the individual may think they're having a quote unquote a nervous breakdown.
Or
Rather than a nervous breakdown, they're having a breakthrough.
yes, exactly. They're
Or an
experiencing.
expansion of consciousness.
Right, exactly. So what has been your experience when you've had a expansion of your consciousness?
Sometimes it was quite beautiful, quite a release of energy, a lot of tears of joy, a lot of mysteries about myself and about the world I inhabit being resolved, and a lot of serenity. And then there have been times where I felt like I was having a nervous breakdown. I'd even been told I was having a mental health crisis, which is the nice way. That's the new updated term for those who don't know. If any mental health professional says that to you, they're trying to be kind, but they're just still an asshole. Yeah, but at the other side of it, because of some of the training and experiences I've had before, I can reckon, even if it seems very dark. To use a real nice catchphrase, it's always darkest for the dawn.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those have been my experiences. That's why I found the book quite fascinating, that it's come into my possession. Although I'm just going to borrow.
Well, I look forward to.
And in fact, it's just basically telling me the same shit I already experienced. But it's nice.
I look forward to you reading it and then being
Mhm.
able to use it to talk to us.
Certainly.
So, does it have a, in the front of a lot of books, it'll give you the chapters and maybe a little blurb of what they're about?
Sure. Table of contents.
Yeah, table of contents. Yeah.
Mental wellness. Growth is not illness. That's the first chapter.
Uh-huh.
Chapter 2. Stress release. Where does the discomfort come from? How do you let it go? Chapter 3. Consciousness. Waking, dreaming, sleeping, and beyond. Chapter 4. Stages of growth of consciousness.
Stages of what? Stages of what?
Stages in the growth of consciousness.
Okay.
Seeking, finding, losing, and establishing enlightenment. Chapter 5. Natural therapeutic techniques. Easing disturbances along the way. And then there's an appendix. Appendix A. When to seek outside help. Appendix B. Selecting a growth program.
Well, those are, Thomas Merton talked about all of those, right?
Correct. Yes. And he did describe that.
And the other interesting thing is he also described, and Thomas Merton in a lot of ways was a cheeky monkey, in the most, self-defacing monk kind of way, and that's why he was murdered by the CIA, he was doing stuff that nobody.
Well, why don't you tell the good viewers and listeners who Thomas Merton was and how that all.
So Thomas Merton was a very interesting person in that he was from the upper echelon of the latter 1890s and early 20th century banking, investment, business family. He himself, not so much. He himself, like most young men of that time, were being well educated and more socialized, meaning it was almost like he was racehorse. His family was thinking about who he was going to marry and what job, what bank he would go work at, and that kind of stuff. And he himself was a person from early age, from childhood. He had these, what you just described, experiences of consciousness, like enlightenments. He'd be out there in the woods. His parents had these big houses with big, woods and very rural kind of places all around the East Coast and also in the West. And so he had a very blessed life as a child. And he was very well educated, and especially literature. He loved literature, loved reading, loved writing, loved poetry, loved writing poetry, loved writing everything down. He had a zillion journals. He was the most prolific when he really got in his when he became a monk and then started publishing. And the Catholic Church loved it. Like he wrote one of his first books, if it wasn't, was it Magic Mountain? What was that? The mountain book?
That one I don't know of. I know of No Man is an Island.
Right, No Man's an Island. But his first one was this, and it was more like his autobiography. That's what it was. And so here he was, kind of a Methodist. He was like Christian light. He was like the Rockefeller said he was a Episcopalian or something like that, Protestant of some flavor, and said, I'm rich because God made me rich. And so suck it up, everybody else. And that's the kind of culture and religion that Merton was growing up in. So he didn't care. It wasn't floating his boat. He didn't know what he was going to be, but he basically wasn't going to be any of that. And he was, like I said, in how would you describe it? Not detached, but like his parents, his culture, his people were all going this way, and he was like on the outside orbit of it. And he was living well, but he wasn't, and he did things they wanted him to do, but he wasn't really interested in it, and he really just stuck himself into books. So anyway, he's growing, and getting older, and he basically has an early number of refrains of, wow, things are fucked up. World War I was a good example. The Spanish-American War. There were a number of economic collapses before the big one in 29. And so he was around it. His family were insulated from it, but it was still taking hits on their business, and some things they made on and others. And so there was a friction and tension in his family about what their world, and so they were kind of old. They were in the circle of old wealth rather than the new wealth like of J.P. Morgan. So anyway, there were a lot of conflicts going on that the average person did not have a clue about. And so he saw it, but he didn't want to be any part of it. So he stuck his nose in a book. So he was really into poetry, and so as he's going to college, they'd have all these, roaring 20 parties, and he'd be part of that, but again, not part of it. And that was really his whole essence of who he was from birth. He's part of this kind of thing, but he's not. So he gets involved, and my mother tells the story because I knew Thomas Merton, because my mom, she would have these big fancy parties because she ran this whole basically hospital, and even though she was a woman, she was capable, and all the guys who names on the doors, they were just rich people, ne'er-do-wells who couldn't do anything. So to make them look good, they let her run everything. And so, especially when the Depression came, they weren't, the rich people didn't have a lot of cash, but they had a lot of stuff, real estate, stocks, this, that, and the other thing. They had, you can have a lot of power, a lot of wealth without having a lot of money. So anyway, she had this big thing, and she'd had these big fancy parties, and he came to those, and he was smitten by my mom, and my mom said, "Oh, Tommy, I could Methodist, cute," but so he went off and became a Catholic. He went to a Catholic ministry school, and he fell in love with the passion of Christianity, right? Of Roman Catholic Christianity, because it's so much older than the Protestant Reformation, and the Protestant Reformation is more like a business, a firmer
Well,
clarification.
and it also has a connection to what some would call the Desert Fathers.
Right, and the mystery schools.
This is where it really takes off. So
Right, exactly.
let's launch, baby.
So he basically, and that's a myth about my mom. I can't swear to it, but he was a friend of the family. He would come to Thanksgiving. He was a very, very amazing guy, meaning he loved everyone, no matter what age, gender, or anything about you. He did not judge anybody. He just,
Unlike me, who hates everyone for those reasons. Just kidding. I'm only joking.
Only joking. And don't believe a word I say.
And don't believe a word that Al says.
Right. So,
Or who he has on the show.
So he goes to a ministry to become a priest, and he goes and he picks one. Oh, it's none of the power hungry ones. It wasn't Franciscan or Jesuit.
The Tapists.
Yeah, Papists. Right. He wasn't one of them. It was another, kind of like the Marinos, or a whole bunch of Catholic orders.
He was a
It starts with a P.
Trappist monk.
Trappist, right? Trappist monk, right?
No relation to Trapper John M.D. or
Right.
Trapper from MASH.
Right. So
Those are just funny things to say.
Trappist. So he's going there, and they're all about helping the people, and not only just helping the people, but helping the planet. He's almost, being a pagan in his understanding and appreciation of nature, right? And
Well, yeah, I mean, I think of and those things are true, what you're talking about, but I think the connection in his writings, these sort of the practices that he was bringing
Exactly.
forward from the Desert Fathers,
right,
of contemplation,
right,
prayer, and being part of a hermitage,
right.
understanding the God within.
Yep. And he
and then understanding from there the oneness of all things and the human family.
Yep.
There stemmed this sort of I don't like activist. I don't think is a proper word.
Right, because
but I'll go with it.
Yes, because yes.
That's more on the secular level.
Right.
But his was coming from a very deep love.
Right, spiritual
of the oneness of all.
Right. And so he was a good friend of Martin.
Unlike me, who just only loves
Yeah. Martin Luther King, all of that crew, and like
Correct.
you said, he wasn't in their movement. He was their friend, and they would have these. What is that thing when you go off with your friends and you pray? What do you call that?
Retreats, perhaps.
Yes, he would do retreats with all these amazing people without being part of their movement. I mean, he had a retreat with Malcolm X.
That I was unaware of.
Yes.
But I'm not surprised.
And he was trying to get Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy together, and it was very interesting because they were all assassinated within 6 months of each other. So,
are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was quiet for theatrical reasons.
Oh,
bum. I didn't have that.
Bum.
Right.
I'll do that next time. Just cue me.
Okay, right. I was trying to cue you. So,
Sorry.
So that 15 or 20 years. So he goes to this monk. Right.
Too early. Sorry. Premature. Sorry.
So he goes off and he becomes, like you said, a Trappist monk. Right. Okay. Good. And then the guy who is the leader of his Trappist monk says, you need to go to France and study with this Trappist monk in France, right?
Can I do it now?
Yes. And and I forget his name, but he had one foot in the ancient mystery schools and one foot in the things that are not here yet, right? And so he knew tons of people in all the different mystery schools. And France at that Paris at that time was a place where all of this stuff was, it was just before World War II, and all these people were saying, okay, now we had World War One, then we had this crazy, wild, crazy, Roaring Twenties, which only made certain people a lot of money and everybody else a lot of debt, and then we're right on the precipice of World War II. And that's when, right. So he kind of goes around the world to different places before they explode into World War II. And because World War II didn't just, explode into everywhere war. First it was here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and then bango, bingo, bango. It's like in Africa, it's in Asia, it's in the Caribbean, it's in the North Pole, it's you name it, it's all over the place. And that's what's happening to us right now. And in a more disjuncted way. And so we're just repeating that same motif, but people are a lot more aware of what's going on. And so the powers that shouldn't be are being pressed to be harder and harder at this. And so right. And so after World War II, especially with that picture of FDR, Winston Churchill, and Stalin in Iran, in Tehran, the capital of Iran, where they slice up the world.
Correct.
And they all have this shit-eating grin on their face.
Correct.
And that's what we then kind of went into the Cold War. And the first 4 years, we didn't even know we were there until Winston Churchill gave a speech in Ohio.
Iron Curtain speech.
Yes, going on about it. There's an iron curtain falling on the world, right? And this is and at this time is when Merton starts writing, right? Around 1947. And between 1947 and 1968, when he died, that 20 year or so, he wrote 60.
Yeah, he died in 69.
Yeah, he basically wrote 60 amazing books. And the Catholic Church was fine with it because every 3 months he was writing a book that was selling 1 million copies, and the Catholic Church was making 20, 30 mil without really having to do anything. So they were happy with him until it took them a while to realize that he was writing about what we started off talking about, consciousness and not religion.
Yes.
And that's when he was highly involved in all these movements without being part of the movement, because he was having these gatherings and experiencing higher conscious with all these people. Meaning Robert Kennedy was a scumbag beyond scumbags, and he went to a number of these and he was a different guy. Right? So right. So that's why, and the same with Jack. Robert was rubbing off on Jack. I mean, I'm sure they were doing LSD together.
So they were rubbing and some other things.
Yes,
well.
right.
But anyway.
Named
Marilyn Monroe.
Right. And a few other chicks, too. I mean, these guys just couldn't keep it in their pants. But that's part of
story of my life.
Higher consciousness, expressing that energy, right? So
that's more on the lowest chakras.
It's the lowest chakras. Yes.
The good place to start.
Yeah, good place.
Beauregard, you've joined us. Oh yes, Magic Man. Oh.
Right. It's my happy place. It's my happy place. Anyway, so what else can I say? So anyway, he kept doing that, and like I said, he wrote 60 books. That's pretty prolific, and all kinds of journals and papers.
Oh, that's right. Thank you. Exiting the bill.
So, he basically had a great effect on the world view. One little guy who nobody knew about, right, is having this gigantic effect on the world. And so the CIA at that time had loads of money and no oversight. So anybody who felt anything, oh, we got to get rid of this guy, they could easily whack him. Right? And so, he was easily whackable. So he was.
Yes.
Anyway.
I'm out on the street.
Yeah. So what's it like out on the street? Give us
Oh, beautiful sunny day
Yeah.
here in New York City. I'm near FIT. I'm on West 29th and East Avenue. I'm walking to 23rd Street.
like
Get on the
here,
beach. Get on the
Fashion
beach.
Institute.
Yes, Fashion Institute of Technology. And home of very horny poets. Dun, 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 dun.
Ba, 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 ba. So
Right.
did you
Frolicked many a night at the dorm room.
notice there's a guy who stumbled onto my feed and his channel. What is his channel?
John channel?
No. Richard Vobes. Vobes. He's a bald guy with glasses, English.
Haven't met him yet.
Well, I've had him on my show a
Oh,
bunch,
good.
and he's a total trip.
Should I be running into him soon? Or?
No, not physically, but if you were to go on the YouTube and look for Richard Vobes,
Richard Bowie?
Vobes, V and
Rose.
Victor, Vobes,
Oh,
Vobes.
okay. I'll check it out. What is his stick?
The stick is he's a 60, 70-year-old English guy, pretty well educated, and he's giving a world view that isn't the common narrative. That's the view. I don't know who he works for, but he has an interesting narrative. So I don't care who anybody works for or what it is. It's what their narrative
That's
is.
part of your narrative.
Well, okay. So, but it's not, the narrative to me is the storyline, right? And within the storyline is information. And if the information is that which can be, a dynamic that expands people's consciousness in a positive way, then I'm all for it. So I'm not ideologically connected. I don't care left, right, up, down, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, me.
Right.
That's why we get along.
Yep, exactly.
I think.
Yeah, I think.
That and I think, well, here's a real important question.
Yeah, what is the important question?
Do you like Cool Ranch Doritos?
Not really. No.
Sorry, I don't like that anymore.
Okay.
Wrong answer.
I mean, all those Dorito products taste like a chemical experiment to me.
They are.
Right.
They limit consciousness.
Right, exactly. So I don't really, anything that I end up eating a carton of them within half an hour, I don't like. When I can't remember, how many bags I ripped into, I stay away from it.
I understand. Definitely understand that.
Because if I did that, I'd be dead.
You certainly would.
Yes. Anyway, what else is going on? It's a beautiful day here to Deep Green. I'm cleaning, doing spring cleaning, which is always good. And I had a nice day today, and it's all good. Well, Slim, I'm about to run out of battery here, so I'm gonna say goodbye. I'll speak to you later. When it's rainy. Yep. And
Come on down, Martyred Artist.
Yep.
YouTube channel, Martyred Artist Facebook page, Martyrs Artist Instagram. Come on down, look at hearts. That will expand your consciousness.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I'll have to come on your channel one day, like I have you on mine, and I can look on my phone.
Yeah, I have a mic. And I can even figure out how to use Zoom and stuff.
Well,
you have Zoom on your phone, or is that Zoom?
Who knows? But I mean, what we could do is I could look at your webpage and look at your art, or I can look at your, while you're YouTubing, I can use my one phone that isn't a phone, and the other one I could talk to you on. But I could also try to figure out YouTube. Who knows? I mean,
Not good. Well, when you come to New York, I'm going to help you figure it out.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not sure when that is, but it's here.
Sooner rather than later.
That's good.
Sooner.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, baby.
God bless you and everyone else. Yep. Bye-bye.
Da 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 da. Yep. Ba 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 ba. Da 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 da.
You might get a strike for that.
Okay. 57 minutes, and there's still AI. You're still there. Hello, AI. Let's see, buddy. So nobody made any comments. So come on, please. Can I make a comment? I can say if I can make a comment, anybody can. Bum, 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 bum. And how much juice do I have left? 20 minutes. What am I doing so I can actually see? Is that pretending? Oh, yes. 515. Bum, 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 bum. Let's see. Boo, 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 boo.
Once upon a time, there was a man who was going to become the king. He was in a land far, far away, and he'd been waiting to become king for such a long time. His mother, you see, had been on the throne for ages and ages. He'd been desperate to become the king, but he had to wait. And she was very popular with all the subjects. And this sort of disturbed him a little bit, and he was rubbing his hands, going, "Oh, blimey, she's so good as..."
Stop exhausting yourself with the old.
Why I'm not at that place is because no one's put any money in the PayPal. It's 40 miles away from my front door, and so dissatisfied. DC, are you a troll? Are you yo-yo? What are you? Where are you? Where are you from? What's it like where you are? I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, here, look. That's one reason why I'm not out and about. I had to go do some errands. I did do those. And I don't really leave here unless I have to do a number of things, and I had to do a number of things today. Well, you're at the Black Comp. Well, then you shouldn't be dissatisfied. You should enjoy it. Get the tiramisu, baby. Really yummy, yummy, yum. That's the best. I've had a lot of tiramisu, and that tiramisu is one of the top 3 that I've ever had in my life. So, that's and their breakfast. It might be too late for the breakfast pizza, but their breakfast pizza is pretty amazing, and their eggplant. No, not their eggplant. Their lasagna is excellent. Right. So all of their food is just the peaches. I'm not just asking now that you're not there. Okay. Good. Enjoy the meal. That's all I can say. What did you order? Did you order anything? Where are you sitting? Which dining room? Where did you park? Because parking is also part of the experience. You can park free at a certain place where it's a good walk to get there, or you can road warrior parking closer to downtown. So that's part of the experience, right? And which side do you approach from? Is he from the railroad side or from the highway side? It's another element of experience. So I wasn't in that neck of the woods. I was in the opposite. I had to go in the opposite direction. So I was maybe 70 miles from there. So I was thinking of going there, but I had all these other appointments to do. So I went and did them. I'm sitting in the spot that smells where I took your pic before, complaining about Well, that's good. That's good. Good to know. Good to know. Do, 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 do. Let's see. Before let's see what that does. Let's try this one. Okay. Well, what else can I say? Well, the evening is coming to us, and I'm gonna go make something to eat. And if anyone wants to drop something in my PayPal, that would be nice. Otherwise, stay well, be good. And whatever this character, which I think is Yo-Yo, Mr. DC, he didn't really have any questions to ask. He just had statements to make. And that's about it. Don't be a bad bee. Be a good bee. Remember that?